Hi everyone, my name is Carol and I'm part of Wicked Connections, which stands for Wish You Knew Education Connections. Today we will be talking about a topic I'm sure all of you have been pestered about since you were a child, which is what do you want to do with your life? This is not an easy question, and many of us take a long time to figure it out. Some of us even figure it out after entering the wrong field at first. This is the story of our next interviewee, Hanna, who is currently in her third year of pharmacy school. So, Hanna, why don't you kick us off by telling us how did you end up in pharmacy and what do you think you actually want to do with your life?
So currently I'm in third year pharmacy school. If you guys don't know, a pharmacy degree in Canada now is called a Doctor of Pharmacy, and it's 4 years. You have to finish at least 2 years of undergrad in order to get in. But a lot of people, finish their bachelor's, some do their master's, and then go on to pharmacy. I personally feel like I rushed into it. I I feel like I had so many different pressures going on in my life that I felt like pharmacy was the easiest solution. Growing up, my family didn't have money. My grandparents raised me. My dad is disabled. So money has always been something we didn't really have. At the time, in high school, I was working towards becoming a doctor. All I did was just think about how much I want to be a doctor. Every co-op, every placement I did, tailored to me wanting to be a doctor. But then I felt so pressured by my family that I had to take care of them eventually. And I knew that becoming a doctor is a really long journey. There's 4 years undergrad. A lot of people don't even get in right after undergrad. They usually have to take a gap year. Some even do a master's, and then they do the 4 years of med school, and then there's residency on top of that. And the shortest residency is 3 years, but that's still a long journey, right? So I looked into other programs. I looked into other healthcare programs. I knew healthcare was always for me. I felt like I always belonged in healthcare. There was no question about it. So then I found out that pharmacy was also a 4 year program, but you only had to do 2 years of undergrad. So going into undergrad, I worked my butt off to get the grades I needed. The PCAT was relatively much easier compared to the MCAT, and I had the grades to get in, so I just applied anyways, and I just said, okay, let's just do it. I only applied to U of T, got in, and I'm like, okay, so I got into pharmacy. I guess I'll do it now, right? And I knew that 6 years of school, and then right after I graduate, you make pretty great income. It's a good income to have, and I knew that it would be much faster than becoming an MD. So I chose pharmacy. Clearly not for the right reasons. Because now I'm in my third year, basically three-quarters done, and I know for a fact that I'm not going to be a pharmacist for long because I want to go back to school and actually become a medical doctor.
Oh, wow, this is such an interesting journey. So, what I'm hearing is that from the beginning till now, you are still confident that healthcare is the place for you. However, you ended up choosing pharmacy over medical school for both ease, with the PCAT being easier than the MCAT, and also speed, being able to start pharmacy school 2 years sooner and less time doing residency. So now that you're in pharmacy, I feel as though it could probably still check off a lot of boxes, you know? You're still helping patients, you're still in healthcare. So, what exactly makes you feel as though med school is still the way for you? Is there something about pharmacy that turned you off, or is there something missing that you're searching for in med school?
So what I realized this past year, working in a community pharmacy, I work in Parkdale. So that is a low income area. So a lot of marginalized populations, a lot of people living with homelessness, experiencing substance use disorders, mental health issues, etc. And there were so many times while I was working where I felt like I want to do more for my patient, but I cannot. And the thing for me is that pharmacy has a very limited scope of practice because you only study really medication management, right? It's a lot. It's still don't get me wrong, it's still really important, but there were so many more things I wanted to do for patients that I legally could not do, like prescribing or referring to other sort of social work, for example. I couldn't even do that as a pharmacist. And it's really frustrating for me that I want to do all these things, but I legally cannot. So for me, it was that I just don't feel as fulfilled because I know I want to do more. Some people like just, being a pharmacist, and that is totally okay. And that's, needed in this world. But for me, I just there's so much more I want to do for patients that pharmacy doesn't allow me to do. So like that was like the biggest thing that just made me realize like I need to go back to school after this because I can't live the rest of my life feeling like I want to do more, but like I legally can't, right?
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense, and I never would have thought of that had I not spoken to a pharmacy student or pharmacist like yourself. So, what I'm hearing is that though pharmacists do get to interact with patients, you don't have as much of an opportunity to intervene in their healthcare plan as much as a medical doctor does. And that's what's pushing you towards going back to school to become a medical doctor, which makes a lot of sense. I also want to make sure that we do the pharmacy profession justice. So, Hannah, could you also give us more insight into why do people love pharmacy?
So like besides the whole like being in healthcare and actually like having an impact on patients and being able to help them in a really big way, I think what people don't realize is that pharmacists really do play a really critical role in patients' care because the pharmacist is the last like point of care. Like, a patient goes to the hospital, they see a doctor, etc., but then they go home and who do they go see? They see their pharmacist mostly for their medications. So like I see like incredible pharmacists that I work with and also like my classmates, you build like such great relationships with patients that it's hard to not love the job. Other thing is that pharmacy gives you a balance that a lot of other careers don't allow you to have. Some people really just like to clock in, do what they have to do at work, and then clock out and go home, and they just focus on their own life, their personal life, etc. And that's cool too, right? Everyone is like different, but what I realize is that like it really just depends on your why. Like, why are you doing this? Because like a lot of people like they just want that like 9 to 5, go home and like live their life. Others are there just to make like good money and that's it. But then there are other people who want to do more, and that's like everyone just has a different why. And I feel like you find your happiness when you find out your why and you align your life with that.
These are such great insights that you're sharing, Hannah. And honestly, being a pharmacist sounds like a great career in my eyes. And I can also understand what draws you to medical school. So it's definitely not an easy choice by any means. I guess my question to you is, you might be confident that pharmacy isn't right for you, but how confident are you that medical school will fulfill all the remaining pieces that you're looking for in your career?
I am so scared. I am so, so scared to pursue medicine because it's hard. It's so hard. It's so competitive. Like applicants, like they have incredible resumes, crazy stories. Like it's just so competitive now. And I'm terrified because I'm going to graduate while I'm 23. But my biggest worry, my biggest like cause of anxiety is like, when am I going to get into med school? And I feel confidence that I will get into med school. It's just, when is that going to happen? Right. But in terms of like this direction that I'm going, I've never felt more confident because, to be completely honest, during first year and second year of pharmacy, I was like a total mess. Like I had no idea what I wanted to do. I tried finding so many different careers that I could pursue after pharmacy. I was like, maybe I should get an MBA. Maybe I should go to law school and get a JD. I just like had no idea what I wanted to do. I was so lost and I kept trying to find other ways to like I guess not be a pharmacist and I just didn't know like what path I should take. And at one point, I was even like studying for the LSAT. I'm like, maybe I should do this. Like the LSAT, like I did pretty well on like the diagnostic. Like these questions like make a lot of sense to me. Maybe I'd be a good lawyer. But like during the time when I was studying for the LSAT, I like wasn't like passionate or like confident in pursuing law because I initially did the LSAT to apply to law just because I'm like, maybe I'll be a corporate lawyer, make a lot of money. But that just wasn't for me, like that just wasn't like aligned with my calling and my why. So now that I know that like I'm going to pursue medicine, I'm going to become a doctor and eventually it's going to happen. I just don't know when. I do feel confident because I know that I'm going in for the right reasons. It's not for money, it's not for power, it's not for status. It's because I want to be able to do more for patients and this is the path that allows me to do it.
I feel as though your existential crisis is so relatable, Hannah. I think it's really easy for us to get caught up in all these different fields because when we first hear about it, we hear about the exciting parts. But there is a lot more to every single career, both good and both bad. So, did you have any help in guiding yourself to your final decision? For example, people you talk to, mentors?
One time I was working with my uncle who's a pharmacist. So I actually work for his pharmacy in Toronto. I asked him, like, why do you love pharmacy so much? Why did you choose pharmacy? And he told me his why. He's like, you need to find out your why. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And like for the longest time I just didn't understand it. He kept telling me, I just love to help people. I love to help patients. I love my patients. And I'm like, that is like such a generic answer, like I feel like everyone says that. But like how do you figure out like what actually is your why? And I think through talking to him, talking to other people with like actual experience in like the career or even in like the program, or even in any other program really, it's just so helpful to understand like what led them to finding out their path and like their calling, because for a long time I couldn't figure it out. I felt so lost.
That is certainly a crazy journey you went through, Hannah, but I'm so happy to hear that you're now confident in becoming a medical doctor, and we wish you the best of luck as you go down that route. For all other students listening, we hope you take away two major lessons from Hannah. The first being to assess and prioritize your values. You need to be cognizant of what really matters most to you, and that's how you will then assess career options. And the second and final tip is to build a realistic image of what each profession is, because we tend to only hear the coolest aspect of each job at first. And you can achieve this by volunteering, doing co op, or simply networking with people in these careers. And that's who will tell you the ins and outs and the truth and many things that you may not have considered on your own. So good luck to everyone as you continue to figure it out. It's never too late or too early to think about these big questions and try to put our best foot forward. Good luck, everyone, and take care.